Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user IMN1. Girlfriend of 1 year, 27 female Asian, has visa issues, wants to marry me, and is offended I, 29 male, European, don't love her enough to do it. Am I in the wrong? I came out of a long relationship, amicably, a year ago, and 3 weeks later went on a date with a girl I met online. My only ever online date. I'm European, she's Asian. We had a great time and things progressed. We became a couple and continued to have fun. After being together for only a month, I moved to another country for my job. I had already been planning this. We stayed together via Skype, etc. And a few months later, when her visa expired, she joined me. It seemed like a good idea to let her stay with me since we were getting along well and the new city is expensive. I didn't ask her to pay rent for the first few months as she didn't have a job. Now she's paying and on the lease with me. Fast forward a couple of months and I found out pretty quickly that she has very strong emotions during her period, at least stronger than other girls I have spent a lot of time with. Normally, she gets very depressed and shouts and blames me for a lot of problems. Probably some are true. I've tried to adjust my behavior to accommodate this. Movie nights in, massages, flowers, chocolates, and do all I can to comfort her in these times. But I tell her, usually tactfully, a few days before the event, that I can comfort her, but I cannot engage these tantrums, for lack of a better word, and we have to wait until she calms down. I feel like a bit of an ass, but sometimes I just have to leave until she is less upset, at which point we can normally resolve the issue. I don't think she likes this, she'd rather hash it out in a big argument, but that just doesn't work for me. I can't function in a heated discussion. So all this I can basically deal with. I just thought I'd mention it as it seems relevant. The reason I'm asking you guys for advice is that this month she has been more upset than usual because her student visa expires in 6 months. It's also coming up to her birthday and our 1-year anniversary. As an Asian, she doesn't feel that there is any way to continue living in Europe as she can't find a job, and she asked me what I think we should do. I said I am sure we can do the research and find a way for her to get a visa, perhaps another student one, enabling her more time to find work, and I will spend as much time helping her as necessary. After finishing a list of options, we spent most of the evening doing this, she burst into tears and asked why I hadn't put marriage on the list. My responses were something along the lines of, I know that would be an option for getting your visa, but I only want to marry for the right reasons and I'm just not ready for that. But I will help you with the visa any other way I can. Can we please have this discussion when you are calmer? This did not go down well. Firstly, she is offended that it's even a possibility that she wants to marry for a visa. She says after 1 year together, she is sure I'm the one and is ready to marry now and wants to do it now because it will be convenient to solve visa problems. Secondly, she says that if I don't want to marry now, will I ever? Why is 1 year not enough to think about marriage? What will happen in 6 months when she leaves? Do I not care? If I love her, I should do anything to keep her. My response was that I would consider it in the future, but I am pretty sure that I will not be ready to commit like that in the next 6 months. And anyway, right now, I can't really give a proper response because 1, I hadn't really thought about it, and 2, because you are crying and shouting at me. This was a few days ago. Now I think about it and I feel pretty much the same. I love her, I like being with her, and I can imagine a future together, but I am not ready to commit for life. I told her as much and she does not accept this. She thinks I will never commit. She deserves more commitment than I show her and that I have commitment issues. So, what do you think? Am I being an a-hole? If I am not ready to marry her and the thought of it makes me think of breaking up rather than doing that, then should we break up? I also factor in that we live together and made all our friends in this new city together. On the contrary, does it sound like, admittedly completely from my side of the story, she is just trying to get a visa? I am fairly sure it is not through malice. She's sincere. I've met all her family, who probably want her to come back to Asia but are happy that she is happy, and I am sure she is in love with me. I think that maybe she's just more inexperienced than I realized. As far as I know, she's had a 1 year and a 2-ish year relationship in Asia, and a 4-month one in Europe, with a guy who sounds like an a-hole from her stories, but never lived with a guy, and I don't think she's really experienced in relationships. So my opinion is that all of this, with the added pressure of the period, has just made her explode. I just don't know what to do next. Sorry again for all the text, but it's been quite therapeutic to write it out. Any comments at all are appreciated. Well, OP, in my opinion, I don't think you should get married. And I think just saying I'm not ready for it is a greatly valid argument. Sure, she might love you and all, and you might love her, and she might think you're the one, but if you're not ready, then just don't do it. Don't be an idiot. Sure, there's the side bonus that her visa problems would disappear, but then you're in a relationship that's supposed to be for life in which you're not sure you really want to do it. That's not the best way to enter a marriage. And also, I'm not very fond of the emotional gaslighting going around, like, do you care about her, and if you love her, you'd do anything to keep her? Yeah, not a fan. So, in my opinion, I think your relationship has an expiration date, because, like you say, I don't believe that in 6 months you're gonna be like, yeah, definitely, this is the person I want to marry, if you're already questioning it. So I would say put on your big boy pants and be honest with your girlfriend. And if it turns out that this is the end of the two of you, well then so be it and start working on moving on. It's best if you don't waste her time or waste yours. Of course, breaking up sucks and it's sad, but sometimes it's just the right way to go. And what do you guys think about this whole situation? Let me know what you think about it in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Rosendalen says, you are not in the wrong. However, I do understand why she may be a bit hurt and nervous about the whole situation. She probably sees you as willing to risk the relationship ending because, let's face it, it's going to be problematic if she goes back to Asia. Not only that, but she probably also really does want to get married to you. It is most likely not just about the visa, but also about her wanting to take the next step. That your partner does not feel the same way? Well, it's bound to hurt. That being said, of course you should not marry her if you are not ready. I know it depends on which European country you guys live in, but I would really give it another try to find a job. Look up sanitizing positions. They are usually more accessible because many people find it beneath them to clean, at least here where I live. Else, yeah, trying to get another student visa could be a solution. And OP responds, thanks for the kind comments. I think you have it spot on. I really don't believe she just wants a visa. She is really lovely and really loves me. Before all this, she said, I wish you loved me as much as I love you. I can see how it looks bad, but perhaps it's true. I am more willing to risk ending the relationship than to get married when I don't feel ready. Is that wrong? As for the cleaning job, she is an artist and very picky about what work she does, which is making it doubly hard to even suggest work options. Plus, it's damn hard. Companies do not want to pay for non-Europeans as far as I can see. I know people can get visas for jobs, legally. I just don't know how or what. Doing a language or art course at university to get a student visa seems like the best option. A political inactivist says, the biggest problem is that you moved in together without thinking about the long term. Usually moving in together is a precursor to marriage. You should be thinking about it and have the rough ideas of a plan. If not, then it should be clearly a separate as in each of you have your own room. Now the timeline has accelerated and you need to think long and hard about whether you can see yourself married to her. For a 27 female Asian, she is likely getting a lot of pressure from friends and family to get married and have kids. Frankly, she should have been clear from the get-go that this was dating with the intention of marriage, but this is likely a cultural difference in assumptions. Once you decide if you actually want to get married in the future, break up or make it work. Offer to follow her to her country or something. This is less about the visa, you are being reasonable, and more about a lasting commitment. Additional information from OP's comments. I agree that we should try everything, and even then, I don't know if marriage is the right move. I also agree with the point on cultural differences, and I try to appreciate and respect that. But that works both ways. It's in my culture to not get married. Unfortunately, we have the added trouble that unless she gets a visa in the next 6 months, she will have to move back to Asia and it will put a big strain on the relationship. I think she is fairly sure that I will not be able to handle long distance, and she might be right. So she is upset that if we don't fix the visa issue, that's it. And if I don't do more to help her, it as to marriage, it's as good as giving up. To the point about me moving to Asia with her, well, she really wants to live in Europe and I am happy staying here. It's not my home country, so we're both foreigners here. Hypothetically speaking though, I would consider moving after my job contract expires in a year. But I have a very specialized job which makes it hard to choose where to go. I guess I need to separate the ideas of marriage and visa issues. However, I don't really know how to find a middle ground if I am happy as it is and she thinks it's marriage or bust. Well, the community agrees that they don't think it's just about the visa or that the visa is the main motivator for the girlfriend to want to get married, and they did raise OP some pretty clear and good points for him to think about, to which we got responses in the additional context. So now let's move on to the update to see what happened next and how the story ends. So we broke up. This comment really hit home. Quote, if thinking about marriage makes you think anything other than F yes, you shouldn't do it. End of discussion. Anything else is a secondary concern. End quote. I took some time to think about my life and my hopes and fears and what it means to leave a lonely girl who is ready to join her life to you. I realized that I really do not want to marry someone and I'm scared of loneliness and being too old to have children. But despite that, I don't want to rush myself on this topic. And I want to be sure to find the right person, and sadly, that is not her. I don't know what would have happened if we had stayed together longer, but I honestly don't think my feelings would have changed for the better. It was really hard to do because nothing was specifically wrong in our relationship, but as I said before, I just couldn't imagine marriage and the long-term future. So I chose my moment and just did it. She was really upset and I tried to explain myself, but in the end, she just got caught up in the little details and was too emotional. I think now she has begun to accept it, but I still feel a bit bad for not having a solid reason. I would also say that it's not just about the marriage issue. That was just the catalyst to make me think this through. It's been a month and it's been tough on her. She is moving out of our apartment bit by bit, and I feel terrible for hurting her. I actually initially told her not to move and that I would not guarantee anything if she followed me to another country, because I wanted her to understand she had to make that move for herself, not for me. I'm not sure that was ever true, but at least she made a decision on her own. She will probably move to another country in a couple of months, and just because it didn't work out in the end, I don't regret the time we spent together or not realizing sooner that I should break up. I just hope she feels the same. I get the impression she thinks it was wasted time. But I'm confident I have made the right decision for both of us, and I hope she will come to see it that way. I know I didn't really go into details, but of course no relationship is perfect, but there were definitely things I was not happy with. If our relationship was better, maybe I would be more inclined to think long term. Who knows? I'm happy to have some space to myself to figure out what I want from a relationship. Well, OP, of course breaking up is sad, and maybe you guys sound like you are on different stages of the relationship or looking at it from different angles, but the thing is that you guys aren't in the same place, so you shouldn't be pushing to get married. So even though it is sad, I think you both made the right decision. And in that note, all the best, OP, in the future. Take care, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user QuestorSA. You can't get quarters from bug bites. When I was in the army, my unit had a training day one day where we did tactical movements and close quarters combat with paintball guns. It was pretty fun, except it was in Texas in the middle of summer in a training area full of tall grass that I ended up crawling around in a lot. I didn't notice any problems until a couple of hours later when I was getting ready to head home and my legs started burning. I pulled my boots off and rolled my pants up, and my feet and legs up to my mid-thigh were swollen and covered in hundreds of angry red welts. Apparently, I crawled through a nest of chiggers, tiny biting bugs common in America that are apparently called Trombiculidae officially. and they'd gone to town on my legs, bad enough to provoke an allergic reaction. I drive myself to the emergency room at the base hospital, and while I'm waiting to be seen and feeling more and more terrible but needing to focus on something else, I started counting the bites. I stopped when I got to 100, and that was just on the inside of my right calf. The doc had never seen anything like it, and I ended up getting a massive dose of steroids, antibiotics, and anti-inflammatories. All hospital grade and with serious side effects of their own, as well as 4 days of quarters. The military equivalent of being told to stay home and don't come into work. My girlfriend came and picked me up from the hospital and drove me back because at that point I was in no state to drive myself between the allergic reaction and the med I was on to treat it. On the way home, I call my sergeant to let him know about my situation so he can get word up the chain of command. About an hour after that, I get a call from the first sergeant, the senior most non-commissioned officer in the unit, herself. Now, she was one of the most incompetent first sergeants I've ever worked with during my time in the army. Constantly making terrible decisions, mindlessly greenlighting whatever terrible decision our equally incompetent captain came up with, and micromanaging people unnecessarily. She tells me that my quarters has been revoked by the captain and that I have to come in the following day. I tell her that I'm holding orders in my hand from a doctor who's also a lieutenant colonel that I'm supposed to take time off to recover. She responds with, "You can't get quarters from bug bites," and rants at me that I'm just malingering and trying to get out of work. There was no way I could possibly be seriously ill from just some bug bites. I tried to explain that I had an allergic reaction, but she wasn't having it, insisting I was a liar and a bad soldier because of it. I was to be at formation the next morning at 0900. Because of the extensive exercise we all got at the training event, they'd cancel PT for the day, with my supposed quarter slip, and they would decide then if they were going to punish me more for trying to pull this stunt. Cue malicious compliance. Okay, I wore my PT uniform, a t-shirt and shorts, rather than our fatigues the next day, and had my girlfriend drive me in. I was still too messed up from the bites and meds to drive. I figured if I was going to get in trouble anyways, being in the wrong uniform would be the least of my worries. But my bare legs instead showed off the literal hundreds of now angrily red, almost purple or black in some cases, huge welts on my legs. The skin was more welt than not by the next morning, and I walked up showing off that rather horrific sight to my entire company of more than 100 enlisted NCOs and officers. Literally everyone who sees me is like, "What the F, OP? What the F happened to your legs?" It's clear to every single person in the company that I am actually legitimately having an allergic reaction just by sight alone. The first sergeant hears people making a ruckus, sees me, and turns bright red, knowing she effed up when she hears me answering warrant officers, including my direct supervisor, asking, "Why are you here if you're that sick?" With first sergeant made me come in and told me that you can't get quarters because of bug bites. Within 10 minutes, I handed in a copy of my quarter slip, got a quiet and very private apology from the first sergeant, and was sent home for the next 4 days. Yeesh, OP, that must have hurt like hell, but the first sergeant learned a lesson, so good for her. Thanks for sharing, OP. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe, or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.